So I still think we're trying to figure out to me, it's two economies, right? The AI driven data center compute build out economy and the rest of the economy. And that's been firing on all cylinders, right? The data centers, compute's just being built everywhere. Prices are able to be, ramped up and companies are accepting it. I think we saw some of the first cracks last Thursday when, for the first time, Zuckerberg said Meta might actually sell some excess compute. And we went from a world where the only mistake you could make is not having enough compute to maybe being able to sell it. To me, that's the real question here is, yeah, we know the next 6 months, year are all looking good on this. But will people start questioning where they want to be 2 years from now? That to me is the biggest risk to the market is some change in compute. And it is kind of funny though, you point that out. And some of these compute kind of companies have already sold off very hard. So some of that is getting priced in the market, but I think there's more risk. And I don't see how the rest of the market or the economy does well if the compute starts fading. That compute spending is such a huge driver.
So, Peter, we're going to come into, as Jess mentioned, kind of the earnings season here. Boy, the first quarter earnings were so good, and that arguably was what's been driving this market all year. What are your expectations for the second quarter?
One, I think we just went through such a quarter where everything was so good, people looked at it. And it's funny, you just talked about the idiosyncratic risk, right? What I did notice is the earnings were so driven by a handful of companies, right? If you look at the index level earnings, they're awesome, but strip away those companies, the rest did not look as good. So again, I think it's going to be harder to win through the earnings game. I think people are becoming, a little bit, hey, we're back at, record valuations. We need to see this. It was 2 weeks ago, the one company, I believe it was Micron, did give clear indication that they have orders locked in for years to come. I think that's what's going to be need to be done, right? It's not just this quarter's earnings. It's really going to be what have you sold next year? What are you selling 2 years from now? And how certain are you that those sales are coming through? And again, it's going to be very driven by compute, I think.
And toward the end of the month, as we were talking, not only the Federal Reserve decision, but it comes the same week as a lot of those big tech earnings as well, and the hyperscalers. What are you expecting to hear from them when it comes to that AI spending and CapEx? And how do you think markets could potentially react to your point when you're looking ahead to the future here?
I think we expect and it's built in that all is, going well, sales are on pace, that there's no slowdown in the need for compute. So I think anything that kind of, puts a doubt in there will have a disproportionate effect. And that's where I do think market structure has been very helpful to this industry on the way up. I keep looking at SOXL, so it's the triple leverage stocks ETF. It's 20 some odd billion. That has been amplifying the moves in both directions. And I think it amplifies them mostly on the way up, but it will amplify on the way down if we get any cracks. And you start looking at this. I'm having a lot of conversations with, hedge funds. You get news that looks like it should be a 0.5% to 1% move day, and it becomes a 2 to 3%. And I think that's a lot to do with market structure. So I think right now we're probably a little bit more susceptible to the downside, though it would still help on the upside. And all of this, I think when we're going to start getting, inflation data, I think Warsh is going to be able to say, hey, inflation's coming down under me. I think he did a phenomenal job addressing inflation. I really think we're going to see deflation, inflation decline. Everything that's going on in oil is generally helpful to that. But also, I think he's going to start discussing some of these other metrics like trueflation, Zillow rents, things that actually don't say inflation's above 2%. I think that's going to be the key to his success and why I think the market's really mispricing. Everything's thinking he's hawkish and we're going to get hikes. I think he's still dovish. He just needs the excuse, and inflation and how he looks at inflation is going to give him that excuse to be dovish again soon. Probably not this meeting, but soon.